If that hasn't gotten people to wake up yet, what will? Wake up and realize these people don't care about you. The Libertarian Party is the only party that actually cares about your rights to liberty and freedom. What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Ross, and welcome to the Liberty Inc. podcast, your source to all things liberty, right here in NC. And tonight we are joined by the two-time candidate for for House Assembly in North Carolina, the vice chair of Wake County from 2018 to 2020, and the current chair of the Wake County Libertarian Party, Travis Groo. Travis, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's a pleasure.
Awesome, man. Well, we just met last weekend. We had a great time at the Libertarian Party of North Carolina's state convention. First time that I got to meet with Travis, and I said, Travis, you're the chair of the biggest county in the state. You guys are obviously doing something right. We just talked about something one of our smaller affiliates are doing last week, so I figured, why don't I bring you on here? We'll chat about what's going on, what's working there and spreading liberty inside Wake County, and see if we can get some tips for some of our newer affiliates to grow the way you guys have, and ultimately, share what you guys are doing. I know you guys had an event earlier this week that I think is a topic that would be fun to talk about. So Travis, I guess let's start with just introduce yourself to anybody who may not know you. I know you're big in the party, so most people will, but tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you to Liberty, and why why you decided that the Wake County Libertarian Party needed your leadership.
I appreciate it. Well, I moved to North Carolina back in 2014, something like that.
Okay.
And shortly after that, it was the mess between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That election process really turned me off to, I was a registered Republican, but I always kind of leaned, I guess, more of a libertarian mindset, but I honestly did not even know what the Libertarian Party was, even though I would, have heated debates with other Republicans and Democrats and fell into that whole trying to change somebody's mind through debates, and it doesn't work. And it was actually through folks like Rand Paul and Ron Paul specifically that introduced me to the Libertarian Party. And so around 2015, I switched to the Libertarian Party. And then I found Wake LP. I lived in Wake County.
Yeah.
And it was people like Brad Hessel and David Ulmer reached out to me and got me involved with the party. I started going Wednesday nights, getting plugged in, showing up to the charity events, showing up to a lot of the speaker events. And then Dave Ulmer asked me to run for office in 2018. Okay. So I ran as a General Assembly candidate for House 11 against Allison Dahl, who actually got elected. And that was a fun experience, learned a lot. And I also, that same year, got elected as vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Wake County. And so really got involved heavily supporting Dave and his vision for Wake County. And then I ran for Senate 17 in 2020 for General Assembly and got involved with the Jorgensen campaign and brought her in twice, brought Spike in a couple times, and just got deeply involved with the presidential race. And then back in April, I was elected chair of Libertarian Party of Wake County. So this is kind of a new stepping stone for me, and it's an honor. And I just hope I'm able to serve the body well.
Yeah, man, that's awesome to think, from libertarian, not even knowing what the party is, to running for public office twice, then, becoming chair of your county party. That's pretty awesome, man. What was it like? What was if you had to break it down to like one thing that really just like kind of gave you that aha moment where you kind of snapped that support of the Uniparty and said, you know what, I'm going to jump into this, head first and just immerse myself. What was that, if you could pinpoint it?
A lot of it at the time was the fiscal irresponsibility of both sides. Both sides are way out of control with basically spending and taking. And I couldn't really differentiate the difference between the two. One side wants to spend over here just as much as one side wants to spend over here. Meanwhile, our national debt's going through the roof. So a lot of it at the time was fiscal. And then I started just not really seeing eye to eye socially with the Republican Party and some of the rhetoric that was coming from the far right in the Republican Party. So I found myself being very liberal in that way. And then I discovered the Libertarian Party, and I was like, that's it. That actually aligns way more with how I'm feeling right now. Just very frustrated. I can't even watch the news anymore. I haven't watched national news in 10 years. I'm in a better mood. I'm happier. I can't watch Fox and CNN and MSNBC anymore. It's garbage to me. And then I can't watch the far right conservative stuff either. It's
all brainwashing, man. They're all trying to brainwash us all so that we don't realize if we stopped fighting along left and right lines and realigned versus on like authoritarian libertarian, I think we'd have the massive numbers that they realize it would all fall apart if we could just break that fighting from left to right, because that's that power structure where we're fighting each other over these little things that if we just work together, right, to get the government, we'd have so much more that we wouldn't be bickering over these things. But I truly think that, those in power in the Uniparty want their propaganda arms, whether it's left propaganda or right propaganda, they want their side fired up and angry at the other side, which I think, that's one of the things that drew me to libertarianism in the first place was, they use that kind of historical thing that they would always say, oh, we're fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I'm like, really? Not really. We're fiscally libertarian and we're socially libertarian, but people just don't, don't know what that means. So I understand why they try to do that, but the reality is it's like, we just want the government to stay out of markets and everybody live however you want to live, as long as you're not hurting people and not taking their stuff. Like, be you, be happy, live your best life, right? So I wanted to hit on something, that I think is big because, you're the chair of the largest, county affiliate. How big are you guys right now as far as membership?
Our county in general has the most registered libertarians in the state. I believe it's hovering around 6,500 registered libertarians in Wake County, which is a lot. We certainly don't have 6,500 people coming on Wednesdays.
You'd need a really big venue for that.
Yeah, we really would. But our goal is to reach those folks. And when it comes to voting, we get a lot of those people out to vote for our candidates. We ran 13 candidates last election cycle and filled 13 of 16 seats with libertarians. So almost everyone had a libertarian or more than one libertarian on their ballot, which was really awesome.
Yeah.
And so we meet once a week, and this is some of the stuff that I feel like we should talk about, because I would like to help other affiliates kind of come up with a model that works and a model that will help their affiliate grow. A lot of times they don't know what to do because it's a big undertaking, but there are a few practical, simple things that these affiliates can do if you want to talk about some of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got to be honest, man. Like, I showed up to my, I'm in Gaston County. I showed up to my meeting. I've been to 2 meetings now, and it's been about 3 of us, right? One, I know one big difference, as you mentioned a couple of times, weekly, right? Versus monthly. I like that idea, but I mean, I think that's a great, any wisdom you can impart, we've got, 3 to 5 people showing up there. How do we grow that to 10 to 20, right? Start with baby steps. But what, any tips you have for me to bring back to my county chair and say, let's start doing these things. This is a great forum, and I think everybody'd love to hear it, man.
Yeah. Well, it's really not that complicated. There's at least about three simple things that every affiliate, in my opinion, should be doing to grow their county affiliate. And the first thing is what I just mentioned, weekly meetups.
Okay.
And even if it's 3 to 5 people, at least you know you're at the same place, same time every single week. So if you miss a week, you've got something going on, maybe a few other people will linger. And then from there, you encourage inviting a friend, even if they're, curious about the party or frustrated with the Democrats or frustrated with the Republicans, or invite the unaffiliated. Hey, you're unaffiliated. We probably have a lot in common. And so you just start inviting people, and then you get to a very important step in libertarianism, and that is volunteerism. V is for voluntary, right?
Yep.
So once a month, every county should be setting up a volunteer event, whether it's a community garden, whether it's an ALS walk. We have an ALS walk coming up this Saturday where we're inviting everyone to walk on behalf of the Lou Gehrig's disease.
Wow, that's awesome.
It could be anything. Every county's got their own little thing that they're doing. The Libertarians need to be setting up a monthly charity event where you're going to a food bank, you're helping them bag groceries, you're helping them give out groceries around the holidays. Just something once a month where you can post and create an event on Facebook, starting inviting people, right? Oh, look, the Libertarians are doing it again. They're doing charity events, because the more we volunteer, the less we need government, right? Volunteerism is the core of libertarianism, helping your neighbor, doing kind goods, goods and services.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing. After you get your monthly meetings going, you really need to be volunteering in your community. Sure. And inviting people and setting up, Facebook events. And it also creates content. You really need content in order to draw people in. If you don't have any content, it's just like any marketing. It's marketing is all it is.
Yeah.
Without content, it looks like you're inactive or you're not doing anything. So that's, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes huge sense. And I like the idea, the weekly creates that consistency where, you're going to have some people, and I'm sure, I'm just guessing. I haven't been to one of the Wake LP meetings, though I want to now.
Yeah, come on out.
I'm sure you're going to, if it wasn't a 2-hour drive, I definitely would. I'm actually planning to go visit in Mecklenburg, since they're, only like a half hour away.
Nice.
But, I take it it's not always. Like, I'm sure you've got some hardcores who are there every week or almost every week, but I'm sure that, when it's weekly like that, I feel like it just provides more opportunities for someone who, they may look at it, oh, darn, this day I've got something going on with my kids. I can't make it. Where if it was the next week at that exact same time, maybe they could. So I like that. And I like the idea of volunteering too, where, people kind of take notice when you lead by example, right? Where we talk about all these things, how, let's get government out of it and let's make a better society through us, through society, right? It's one thing to say it, and I think it's another thing when people like see that in the community, right? Where they see, oh wow, look, these Wake Libertarians are over there, feeding people at a homeless shelter or whatever it may be. I think
picking up trash on the side of the road. And I'll tell you what, people want to get involved.
Yeah,
they want to, but they don't know how, because they reach out and they're like, I want to be involved, and then there's nothing going on. No one's really responding to emails. No one's able to get involved with an affiliate because they're inactive. And this is a problem. If we're going to grow this party in this state, every affiliate needs to be meeting weekly. And it doesn't matter what day of the week. We do Wednesdays from 7 to 9. We got a cool bar downtown Raleigh. It's called Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
We're there every week. Sometimes people make it, sometimes they don't. But if you can promote on your page, we meet every Tuesday from 7 to 9 here. We're all are welcome. It creates opportunities to show up.
Yeah.
That's huge. Everyone forgets if you're doing it like bi-weekly, you forget is it this week? Is it next week? I forgot. Like, and you can't keep changing locations either. It has to be at the same place, same time, all the time.
Yeah.
Or else people get confused. You can't
Yeah.
keep moving it.
That's and I'm actually going to use this. I'm going to throw a little plug in here real quick. So I'm going to pull something out. So guys, and ladies, gentlemen, anything, head on over to wakelp.org. You'll see it right here. You can check it out, read the about, and I think one of the big things that we'd want to highlight right up here at the top: volunteer and donate. Those are two important things. If we're going to spread liberty, look, we don't have the budgets of Republicans and Democrats, and we probably never will, but we've got much better ideas. So with your help, your talent, your time, your treasure, we can spread liberty a lot further. So, once again, wakelp.org. If you're in Wake County and you're a libertarian and you have not met Travis Groo, make yourself out, make your way out there. It's once a week. Put it on your calendar, head on out, and join Wake LP. So, man, I think I got another topic I want to talk about. Any other kind of thoughts there? I mean, I've already got a takeaway, right? I'm going to talk to my county and say, we got to get something weekly. We got to get some volunteering. That's the kind of stuff that gets me excited.
And the last thing I was going to mention, on top of doing a monthly volunteer event, that could be anything. Like, we picked up trash one day for the Libertarian Day, National Libertarian Day of volunteering. And so on top of that, you get to where it's growing. Then you invite guest speakers, and it could be someone from your county or area, or a topic that's important for your county. Invite them to come speak, maybe Zoom it, Zoom live. And then once you create the Facebook event, throw $50 to $100 to it to boost it.
Yeah.
Boost it forward. Throw some advertising dollars behind it. Then it reaches a larger audience. Then people are like, what's a libertarian? And then they see the event and they were like, that looks interesting. Maybe I'll show up.
Yeah.
And you keep doing that consistently over and over and over again, where you're meeting weekly, you're having a monthly volunteer event so you can stay active and not feel dormant. And then you have guest speakers coming in, and they don't even necessarily have to be registered libertarians, I should say. Like, we've got, last night we had Jonathan Blitz from Mystic Farm and Distillery talking about his lawsuit with the ABC Commission that he won. It was insane. Next month, we've got John Sanders of the John Locke Foundation coming to talk about nuclear power. The following month, we're probably going to talk with, we're going to invite Allison Dahl, she's an elected official for General Assembly. She introduced the marijuana bill that I have a lot of issues with because it's creating more government programs and all that. However, it's a step in the right direction for legalizing recreational marijuana up to a certain amount. She's actually the co-sponsor of this bill. We're going to have her come talk about it. She's a Democrat. I ran against her in 2018. She's a wonderful lady. So we'll probably have her. Yeah. We may have Joe Jorgensen come in September. We're just constantly asking people to come once a month. Then you put a boost behind it, and it pushes it out, and you attract non-libertarians by your marketing. So you got to think marketing. You got to think, how can I get the most amount of people here with the least amount of money that we it's hard to come by.
Sure.
And that's it. You have to stay consistent. And even if you're getting frustrated because only 3 to 5 people are coming, and then maybe 6 people are coming, then maybe 8, then maybe 10, then it becomes a movement. So those 3 things I highly recommend every affiliate doing, because otherwise, if you're doing once a month, no one remembers, and you get frustrated. You don't have anything to talk about. There's nothing to do.
Right.
There's nothing to get involved with. Is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think those are fantastic ideas.
Yeah. It works.
Especially,
it's been working for Wake, and I think it could work across the state.
You hit on something, especially the speaker element, right? Where if you're bringing in someone like Joe Jorgensen, and she's coming to do that. That's the kind of thing where Republicans and Democrats in the area might even show up, right? Where they're like, okay, I didn't really hear much about this, but they've got someone who's pretty high profile. Let me go check this out. And I mean, I think that's one thing about the Libertarian Party that I love is, you know, we're a home. If you were formerly a Democrat or formerly a Republican, chances are you're going to agree with enough of our platform that it will appeal to you. The only difference is the Republicans will promise you something and not deliver it. We would actually deliver it. The Democrats will promise you something and not deliver it. We would deliver it. Like, you know, you're voting to keep your side in power. But the reality is they don't actually do what they campaign on. We're serious about this. If libertarians ever, you know, take power of government, we'd really just use it to take power away from ourselves, give freedom to people. And I think that, you know, as more and more people can understand that concept, I think the future of this party is very bright. And I want to almost thank Republicans and Democrat politicians for that, because if they weren't getting so awful to the point where, you know, it doesn't matter who's in office, what do we know is going to happen? Our kids are going to be born into more debt. We're going to be saddled by more stupid laws, and we're going to be less free. And I think that gives an opportunity to wake people up when they're like, boy, my side was supposed to do all this stuff. They have a bunch of power now. They haven't done anything. And I mean, you know, we're going to have recent examples of both Republicans and Democrats doing exactly that, promising you a bunch of stuff and then just doing what they've always done. So yeah,
you're right. To hit on that, we have Republicans and Democrats coming to our meetups all the time because of certain topics that we're talking about that strike a chord for them, like maybe school choice, or maybe criminal justice reform, which is going to be a big deal in 2022. We're going to really hammer down on criminal justice reform and police reform and legalization of marijuana and victimless crimes and the corrupt bail bond system that's going on. Like, we're going to hit these things hard, which attracts maybe more Democrats.
Sure.
So,
but we mean it. The Democrats don't.
Exactly. Like freedom and liberty is if somebody's going to argue with freedom and liberty, then let them put their foot in their mouth. That's fine. Like, go for it, you know?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned the, and that was one of the topics, and, you know, I know the time schedule here, so I don't want to, you know, I want to be respectful of that. But you said the owner of, I think it was Mystic Distillery, right? Who just who had a lawsuit. I think a lot of people in North Carolina, don't really understand the way the ABC works in this state, right? It's very different. And, you know, I've heard some people advocating for, against, and I think you had an upfront, recent, real example of some of the problems of that law. I would love if you can help educate me, help educate our viewers and listeners. You know, what happened with this lawsuit? Why is, you know, this distillery kind of, you know, being shouted by the Libertarian Party as, you know, this is something we want to rally behind? I think that'd be a cool topic to talk about.
Well, exactly. Most all of the Libertarian Party of Wake County candidates ran on privatizing the liquor industry and privatizing the ABC stores or abolishing them, but privatizing them is probably the more correct, politically correct way to say it, where it, you know, the government sells it off to private entities and lets private, you know, people run these stores rather than government. And they basically, what's going on now is government is limiting shelf space for smaller distilleries and smaller companies, and then they're setting prices for them, which is not what government should be doing. So if you can't get shelf space in North Carolina, you don't have a business, because you cannot legally sell it to anyone without going through ABC. So you have no business. You will have to illegally sell, you know, it's basically prohibition all over again. You'll have to illegally, under the table, sell your products because ABC won't give you shelf space. where if it's privatized or there is no regulations on who you're allowed to sell your products to, then it opens up the free market to decide what people like and what people don't like. And so part of this lawsuit was ABC Commission came in and started making up rules that they weren't allowed to have their bottles so close to their bars because they're not allowed to sell to the public. So they seized 17 bottles, basically stole 17 bottles out of their distillery. And there was an immediate lawsuit to get their bottles back and to change the rules. And then you had government agencies arguing back and forth about a law that they just made up out of nowhere. It went to the high Supreme Courts and they ended up winning the lawsuit. They got their bottles back. The laws have now been sort of readjusted again, but they're still convoluted. It's a 3-tier convoluted system where there's distributors, lobbyists, there's the ABC stores, and then there's a commission behind each ABC store has their own ginormous commission that controls that particular store. It's so complicated. It's so unnecessary.
You hit on something that I think about. So I think I like Scotch and whiskey. I don't know about you. Yeah. Those are my spirits of choice, man. And there you go, man.
Bourbon right here.
There you go. One of the things that bugs me, I really like my favorite, just, I guess widely available Scotch is Lagavulin 16, right? It's an Islay malt. It's my favorite stuff. And when I was out in California, right? You think of California as, holy crap, everything's so expensive in California, right?
Yeah.
I went to Costco and picked up a bottle of Lagavulin for $65. I can't get it in a North Carolina ABC shop for less than $99. So think about that. You're talking comparing, the expensive, California to the pro-business North Carolina. And the reality is, that price fixing is costing me an extra $30 for a bottle of Scotch. That's 50% more.
Exactly. And they're setting the prices, which is wrong. And back in about 2017, the ABC Commission got audited, and they had been found to have wasted $14 million of tax revenue on empty warehouse space that they had been renewing the contract for over 7 years, just blindly. There's no oversight. There's no checks and balances. There's nothing. They basically blew all this money. I mean, government is the only entity that can actually lose money selling alcohol. Yeah, it's very inefficient. It's very terrible. It's prohibition. It doesn't work. And
Travis, man, you hit on something that just made me laugh there. That's so true. You said earlier where the whole thing with legalizing marijuana here in North Carolina and your problems with all of the regulation. And I saw a news article, I think it was this past week, where California is having to spend $100 million to bail out their legal marijuana business. If your regulations are making it so hard that you can't make a profit selling weed, your government regulations are the problem. Because I hate to tell you, in every town across this country, there's someone selling weed and making a profit now. If you just got out of the way, with all these, but of course they don't want to do it because it's an opportunity to rob us.
Government has created the black market. They've created the drug cartels. They've created the illegal trade of a substance, and they created the moonshiners. They created the illegal traffic of alcohol back when prohibition was a thing. They create crimes that aren't really crimes, and then they have an excuse to throw you in jail because they made up something. It's ridiculous. So ABC for me represents it's like prohibition light, but they're basically the mafia of liquor, and it's so convoluted. They're so powerful. They're so deep in the state, and they're paid off by lobbyists and big distribution companies. It's sick.
And I think the thing, I don't even know if the politicians think about it. And I know it doesn't impact the whole state, right? But where I am in Gaston County, I'm 15 minutes from South Carolina, right? Because I'm just west of Charlotte. And I'm going to be honest, like when I want something like from the ABC store, I'll drive right across the state line and go buy it in South Carolina because I'm going to have better choices and
Thank you.
variety, and it's going to be cheaper
That's
every
the
time.
exact same thing that Jonathan Blitz was talking about last night. He said three of the busiest ABC stores are just across the border in South Carolina. And they attribute that to North Carolinians going to South Carolina to buy their booze and then come back. But my thoughts are, why can't you buy your booze next to your beer at Harris Teeter, next to your wine, next to your, your groceries? Why does government have to make you go to another separate store that they own and control and keep open during COVID when everything else is shutting down? The ABCs are open, but let's shut down the bars because we can't make a lot of money there. But let's keep the ABC stores open. So why are they making these convoluted, weird laws that date back 100 years that make no sense? So
it's revenue, man. It's revenue. It's policing for profit, regulating for profit. You'd think that they take enough, right? You'd think they take enough with all the other ways that we're taxed. But no,
it's not just alcohol; it's everything they get involved with. Yeah. They end up messing up the free market.
So one of the things, and I know we kind of bounced around a little bit. I know we talked about Wake LP, but I figured I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. You're the new chair, just been in there since convention here. What are your goals for the party, man? Like, obviously we want to grow it in the state, but being that I hope we have some decent audience in Wake, for this episode. What are the visions there? I know everybody there, you probably campaigned and ran on it. I'd like to know, because that's exciting stuff for me and kind of might get my mind thinking of what I can do in my county. So,
yeah, I guess you have to look at sort of the demographics of your county. We live in a really blue county.
Right.
And so for us to run on stuff like 2A, Second Amendment stuff and maybe more Republican type stuff is really great, but it's ineffective in our county. We almost have to go more left, and libertarians can actually run more left than Democrats on so many platforms because they just use their policies as pawns for votes. We actually mean it.
Yeah,
they're just pawning people,
sure.
And they don't. So we can run left of the Democrats and actually make a difference here as far as votes. But my goals are to continue on the progress that has been made over the past 6 to 8 years in growing, to continue to run candidates. We need to run candidates, not just in Wake County, but all over the state. We need to run local candidates for city council, general assembly, town councils. We need attorneys. We need people in the planning commission. We need people in the overall appearance commission. We need all of the smallest city, positions available filled by libertarians. And those are the easy races to run. Everyone wants to go to the top immediately, and they end up embarrassing themselves and embarrassing their party because you can't go from 0 to 60 and want to run for president or governor. And you have to sort of move along, slowly, but and that's it. Running candidates.
It's those local candidates that make a difference too. Like, at the end of the day, who is it that's, making the decision in your neighborhood on whether a nonviolent drug offender is getting thrown in jail? It's nobody in Washington. And, at least for me, I guess it doesn't really apply for you, but for me, it's nobody in Raleigh, right? It's my local county sheriff, my local, local judges. For you, being in Wake, I guess it might be some people in Raleigh, but not the state government. It's really those local government. That's where we see change. And I think
it is. And one thing we say here in Wake County is all politics are local.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times libertarians get hung up on national events and we get stuck there. We're tweeting about Biden. We're tweeting about Trump. We're tweeting about Kamala Harris. We're tweeting about AOC. Why are we doing this? Why don't we take it to a local level and start showing up to town council meetings, start showing up to city council meetings, start showing up to general assembly meetings.
Yeah.
Find out what's going on locally. You're not going to change what's going on in the swamp from your county. You're just not.
Yeah.
There's not enough. You don't have enough pull to change anything that's happening with Joe Biden.
Sure.
We should stop talking about national. We should start talking about state, local, and very local, because that's where we can actually make a difference. You can actually pick up trash in your parks.
Yeah.
You can actually volunteer in your parks in the name of libertarianism. You can actually influence legislation in your own county.
Yeah.
You can actually file lawsuits against certain bills. Like, I don't know if you guys remember when Sheriff Gerald Baker halted pistol permits back at the early hit of COVID. There was like 700 and something unprocessed permits that were sitting there, and his excuse was COVID. We don't have enough staff. Well, I filed a lawsuit against Governor Sheriff Gerald Baker. He's Wake County Sheriff. Mm-hmm. And it went to the Supreme Court, and I won. And the Supreme Court judge issued him, he gave him 10 days to start processing permits again, and basically forced him to continue doing his job. Even though I'm not a big fan of pistol permits, I'm not a big fan of concealed permits. I believe in open carry all day long.
Constitutional carry would be nice.
Carry.
Yeah.
What is constitutional carry? That's just a piece of paper. You don't even need that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're allowed to be a free human and a peaceful human.
Yeah.
So that's another example of libertarians winning without actually winning an election. You can influence your town and your city without getting elected. Imagine that. So when I hear people complaining, I don't know how to get involved, or I want to get involved, well, do it. Like, create your own environment, get involved, start showing up, find out what is going on in your town, and go from there. Yeah. Don't wait for someone else, or don't wait for the LPNC to do something.
Sure.
Do it.
Yeah.
That's sort of my motto. I'm not waiting for nobody.
I mean, I like it, man. And I fell victim to that myself. Like I finally just hit a breaking point where I'm like, I'm just gonna go to my county party and see what happens. And then I just kept showing up, and it's funny, like the past two meetings, they weren't able to get quorum. And I'm like, if I was here, we'd have quorum and we can get this stuff done. So I think they're in the process, because there was one person who agreed to do it, but didn't really want to do it. And I'm like, well, swap it out, because I'm going to keep showing up whether you guys like me or not, because I want to see liberty in my lifetime. I want to do something about the fact that my son is 9 years old and over 90,000 in debt from between the federal government and North Carolina government. I love it, man. I kind of am starting a tradition here. I know this is only episode 4, but I have one kind of final question that I want to give every guest. So if you can, detach from libertarianism for just a moment and put on your totalitarian dictator hat, and you have one change, and only one change, that you could institute at any level, national, state, county, what is your one dictator power for a day thing that you would do, either a law you would create, get rid of, something there? What would that be, Mr. Travis Groo?
One stroke of a pen.
One stroke of a pen, anything you could accomplish. What would it be?
I'll tell you, I'm going to have to go with Adam Kokesh's idea of shutting down the federal government and giving the power to the states.
Just go for the big one. Just, all right, I'm here. We're all unemployed. Figure it out.
Shut down the federal government. I'm going to retire. The states are in charge. There we go.
I like it. I like it. Thank you so much. Any closing thoughts before we wrap it up here? I don't know how we can top that one. I mean, that I'll be honest.
That's a dream, and it's a utopian, thought. But hey, federal government has no jurisdiction over my individual rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
The individual is the most powerful minority in the world.
It is. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This has been the Liberty Inc. podcast. You can find it, if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Libertarian Party of North Carolina's YouTube channel. If you're listening to this anywhere else, where podcasts may be, please subscribe to it. Thank you, Travis. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next weekend, Sunday at 6 p.m.